Hello, welcome to the learning session 4 of our subject, which is construction cost and engineering. Okay, so we are now on learning session 4, which is estimate, schedule, interface, planning. Interface planning. Okay, so in estimate, schedule, interface planning. Okay, so we all know that estimate and schedule planning is very important in a construction project. Okay, so they have an important correlation. Okay, so they are totally related because if you fail in your schedule, it means that your cost or estimate will be affected. Okay, so delivery of a success project is defined by your overall cost, performance, and ability to meet project deadlines. Okay, so this is what I want to tell you guys that if you fail in your schedule or let us say your plan, it will surely affect negatively your estimate. Okay, so what is the indication of this one into your company? So it means you will be losing money. So that is why it's very important that these two, the estimate and schedule, should be working properly, or let us say hand in hand, or they will be uh, going into one direction, or let us say into a common goal. Okay, then project managers need to have the ability to allocate time and resources efficiently to manage cost and keep the project on its tracks. Okay, so almost all organizations look for these project management skills because they showcase your ability to stay organized. Okay, so and communicate with team members, especially when handling complex projects. Okay, so this is one of the qualification of the project manager. So that is why if you observe, all project managers are good case. So they will burst on the process and management, the method they are using. Because if you will become a project manager, you will be on the middle because you will be the representative of the management of the project, and also you will be the representative of your people to the management. Okay, so that is the uh, um, essential qualification of a project manager. Okay, so when practicing cost control, project managers should pay attention to the following. Okay, so number one is the original budget. Okay, so number two, we have the approved cost. Okay, the budget and approved cost are different because if your budget means that this is your financial allocation in a certain project, and if you're going to request that one, example, to the higher management, they will approve a certain cost for that one. Okay, so it's either usually it will decrease. Okay, so that's why as a project manager you need to have a good uh, let us say explanation or negotiation skills. Okay, so for this matter. Okay, so next is the forecasted versus actual cost, then committed cost. Okay, then project scheduling is just as matter as cost budgeting. Okay, so as it is determines the timeline resources needed, and reality of the delivery of the product. Project managers that have experience are better able to properly dictate the task, effort, and money required to complete a project. Okay, so this is the subtopic of learning session 4. Number one is the cost control. Okay, so under cost control this is subdivided into, and number one is the what is a project baseline? Okay, so project baseline is the measure of the stakeholders projects by how well they are executed within the project constraint or baselines. The project baseline is an approved plan for a portion of a project. Okay, so either it will become a positive or negative changes. Okay, so if it's a positive, meaning it will increase in terms of money and schedule. If it's a negative, it will decrease. Okay, so that's the explanation for that one. Next, it is used to compare actual performance to plan performance and to determine if project performance is within acceptable guidelines. Every project has a list for project baselines. There may be others depending on the project and definitions used. Okay, so number two, what are project baselines in project management? Okay, so number one, we have a budget baseline, schedule baseline, scope baseline, and quality baseline. Okay, so if you are using a computer aid application, you can see this one in a Primavera application. Okay, so if you are good to that application, that's good. It is a scheduling tool that helps project management on their projects, especially on a company that have several projects. Then schedule and budget are the focus of this post. The terms activity and work elements are synonymous. Okay, so schedule and cost, budget are two of the major leagues of project constraint polygon. Without the schedule and budget baselines, plans, one does not know where the project stands relative to planned schedule progress or planned budget performance. The schedule and budget baselines, along with other baselines, are developed in the planning phase of the project. The project plan is approved prior to execution with the project sponsors or an appropriate senior level manager. Okay, then the project plan includes the cost and the schedule. The schedule determines when work elements or activities are to be completed. Okay, so milestone achieved and when a project should be completed. Okay, so the budget determines how much its work elements should cost. Oh, sige balik. The cost of its level of the work breakdown schedule, WBS, and how much the total project should cost. Actual performance can be compared to these plans to determine how well the project is progressing or finished. Okay, so that is why WBS, what I discussed a while ago, is very important in the monitoring of the project. Okay, so next is the project budget. The project budget is a financial plan for all project expenditures, cost. A success in project budget management depends on, amongst other things, the creation of a comprehensive, consistent, and reliable project budget. Okay, so what I've said, project budget is different from approved cost. Okay, so This is the first. Then after this one, you will be approving. You have to bring that one to the higher management for approval, and after that one, that will be the approved cost. Okay. Then some people want to use the term accurate, okay, in the above definition, but the word accurate has no place in a project management world. Okay, so that is definitely correct. Okay, so there are no accurate estimate or schedule uh, that is uh, it is known uh, in this engineering concept. Why? Because as you can see, there are always changes. Okay, so what changes? You change because number one is because of policies, politics, and other environmental uh, forces that are affecting the projects. Okay, so that is why there are no accurate example in cost. Okay, so you cannot uh, predict the movement of the cost of materials and labor. Example like what we have today, we are in pandemic, so imagine how much is the increase of the materials. Okay, so as for example, in steel, before around 6 months ago, so only this year, the steel of the deform bar, 10 deform bar is cost 120, around 120 pesos. Then now it is 160, and there is a time that it jumped up to almost 190. So imagine the increase of the cost, that is 70 pesos. Okay, so if that one will hit you and you have a project, so that's not good to the company. Okay, then reliable and consistent are the terms that should be used by definition. Okay, so the project budget cannot be accurate as it is an estimate. Okay, so normally ranges of the project budget variability depend on the project, the organization, the type of business, and many other factors, but usually falls within plus minus 10% of the. So this one is the tolerance of the project. Okay, so because that project is not accurate in terms of estimate and schedule, so you have to have the allowable tolerance of around plus minus 10%. Okay. Okay, so the other thing is how to develop a project budget. There are two processes in developing a project budget. The first process is estimate cost. This which is often confused by determine budget process. Both processes are normally preceded by a project management team planning process, which is executed part of the development of project management plan. Okay, so this planning process is known as the project cost management or the cost management plan. The cost management plan outlines the process involved in determining organization, cost categories, estimating, budgeting, and controlling cost, so that the project can be executed within the approved budget. Okay. The estimate cost process is not only confused with different budget, but it's also widely misunderstood. Okay, many think that this process estimates the total cost of a project. Okay, so this is the difference of estimate and budget. Then, but this is not correct. Okay, at least not directly. The estimate cost process estimates the cost for each of the work elements and records the basis of the cost. That is as far as the estimate cost goes. The second of the three processes in project cost management is is to determine budget process, which rules work element cost. Upward applies cost aggregation, applies project contingency, cash flow estimate, and now you have a budget for the various levels of the WBS and the total project. Okay. Okay, so the next one is the tools to help analyze cost budget performance. Okay, so based on the work above, okay, so our previous discussion, we now have a budget for number one is the individual activities, number two is the work packages, number three deliverables, and number four is the total project. Okay, so this level of detail allows a project manager or PM to evaluate the budget performance of the project from the top down or from the bottom up. Okay, so if a work package is running over or is in danger of overrunning the budget, the project manager can drill down until he or she finds the problem or potential problem. The drill down can be by the PM or the project manager or in a conjunction with the assigned team member. Okay, so the next one is how to successfully manage a project budget. Okay, number one is you have to capture all the scope statement, WBS, and your WBS dictionary. If you do not have captured the total project scope correctly, there is a little hope that the project can be executed for the budget or schedule. Okay, so if not, it will fail surely. The number two, insist on input from all stakeholders. Penetrate through stated needs and include implied needs. Then we have to determine the various cost categories used at the organization. Then number four, you have to develop project team and project management team trust. Okay, so number five, you have to develop a reliable, consistent, sufficiently detailed WBS and time decomposition structure. Then estimate cost and determine budget. And number six is a stop scope grid creep, eliminate gold plating. None of this adds value to the project. Your team is your first line of defense. Okay, number seven, you have to perform EVM. EVM is earned value. Okay, so we will discuss this one in the next learning session, variance and trend analysis. The number eight, we have the continuously communicate to stakeholders on project status, a project direction, and what the project will look like at a completion. Number nine is you have to use organizational process assets to develop, analyze, and challenge. Number 10 is avoid the pitfalls. Okay, in section number 4, okay, so this is below. Then take action when indicated sooner rather than later. Okay, so in our dialect, this is called manyan habit because you are rejecting, instead of doing that now, you are um, thinking of doing that later. Okay, so that's a problem of some of the technical persons, especially engineers. They don't take action directly. Okay. Next is we are on the third subtopic of learning session 4, which is the project schedule. Okay, so in project management, the project schedule is a document that, if properly prepared, is usable for planning, okay, execution, monitoring and control, and communicating the delivery of the scope of the stakeholders. Okay, so the main purpose of the project scheduling is to represent the plan to deliver the project scope over time. Okay, so a project schedule in its simplest form could be a chart of work elements. The associated schedule dates of when work elements and milestone, meaning milestone is the date it should be complete. Usually the completion of the deliverable. Okay, then our plan to work. In addition to guiding the work, the project schedule is used to communicate to all stakeholders when certain work elements and project events are expected to be accomplished. Okay, so the project schedule is also the tool that links the project elements of work to the resources needed to accomplish the work. Okay, so at a minimum, the project schedule should include the following components. Okay, so number one, all activities. Okay, so it's very needed that you identify all the activities. Number two, a planned start date for the project. Okay, so number 3 is the planned start dates for each activity. Okay, so number 4, you have the planned finish dates for each activity. Number 5, planned finish date for the project. Number 6, you have the resource assignments. Number 7 is calendar based. Number 8 is activity durations. The number 9, you have the flow sequence of the various activities. Number 10 is the relationships of activities. Number 11 is the identified critical paths. Okay, critical paths is used, you know this one. I think you already learned this one in the project management subject about critical path. Okay, so this is the path that you need to look if you have a project, because if one of the single activity of that path is delayed, meaning your whole project will be delayed. Means that you will be losing and going to failing. Okay, so number 12 is total and free flow. Okay, then we have how to develop a project schedule. Okay, so the project scheduling process includes number 1 is you have to define the activities or work elements. Then you have to know the sequence of activity. Okay, you have to know the precedence activities. You have to know what activity comes first. Okay, so you have to know what is the most important activity to be done prior to the other activities. Then number 3 is limit activity resources. Then number 4 is activity duration. Okay, so these are the tools and techniques available to the project schedule. Okay, I know that some of these you already learned. Okay, so number 1, we have schedule network analysis. Number 2, the CPM or critical path method. Then we have critical chain method. Then we have number 4, resource labeling. Then we have number 5, what if scenarios. Then number 6, leads and lags. Okay, number 7, we have schedule compression. Then number 8, scheduling tools. Okay, next is tools to evaluate project schedule performance. Okay, so based on the work above, we now have a schedule for number 1, individual activities. Number 2, work packages. Then deliverables. Number 4 is total project. Okay, so this level of detail allows the project manager to evaluate the schedule performance of the project from top to bottom and bottom to up. Okay, if a deliverable is sleeping or is in danger of sleeping, the project manager can drill down until he or she finds the problem or potential problem. Okay, so we are now on number subtopic 3, tips on how to successfully manage the project schedule. Okay, so if you are soon to be a project manager, this is a good learn. Okay, so number 1, you have to use all the tips from successfully managing a project budget. Avoid the pitfalls. Okay, then get reports even if you have them customized from your scheduling software that tells you what is going with the project and schedule accomplishment. Okay. Then number 4 is when work elements sleep, analyze the cause and impact. Then you have to take action as necessary. Then these things will not fix themselves. Case number 5, when resources do not materialize as planned and agreed, estimate the impact and communicate these to management. Okay. Number 6, you have when things go wrong, you have to analyze why, estimate the impact, communicate with the stakeholders, and take action to bring the schedule accomplishment back within acceptable ranges. Okay, so we are now on the last subtopic of learning session 4. Okay, so why projects are late and over budget? Okay, so this is the reason. Number 1 or letter A is omissions. Okay, so leaving out work that must be done. Example, would include documentation interfaces with the PMO and interfaces with other projects. Okay, then letter B, you have merging. Is the point at which several project schedule paths meets. Successor work cannot begin until predecessor work is complete. The time to get through this point tends to increase with the number of activities being merged. Okay. Then letter C, errors. Okay, so mistakes are work not done at all. Errors through expected are rarely accounted for in the planning phase. Okay, so we all know that we are all human. Okay, so we are prone to errors. So that is why in uh, in this industry, if you can observe the signatories, there are usually 3 to 4. Okay, because it from the preparation phase, example, you are doing an estimate, you conduct the costing. So after that one, you have to submit that one to your head or your supervisor for checking. Okay, so it means that after your work is done, this should be checked by your supervisor. Why? Okay, so the reason for this one is to have another look into your work. Okay, so because so time said you are a human, estimator is a human, so it's prone to error. So maybe if you are using application like Excel, maybe you have a mistake in your formula, or you forgot something, you did not uh, multiply or plus the certain amount or figure, then it's error. Then if approved, so you have a problem for that one. Okay, so that is why in almost all estimate being approved, or let us say for 3 to 4 signatories from the one who prepare, the supervisor, the one who check, then up to the manager. Okay, so letter D is reward. Work not completed in accordance with company standards and thus must be redone. Okay, so there is a human nature reluctance to report a bad news. Okay, then E is a failure to understand the complexity of the project. Inability, especially through or technical people, to understand the complexity of the work plan. Okay, so this causes us to underestimate both budgets and durations. Okay, so letter F is queuing, improper allocation of resources to critical path activities. Okay, so letter G, excuse me. Okay, so letter G is multitasking. Okay, most companies nowadays is sister people multitask. Okay, so the reason is to save. Yeah. And why not use one people to do let's say 2 jobs than hire another? So it means the management want to save. Then this causes project is to wait on resources and suffer efficiency degrades will switching activities and delays in the network facility is extended. Okay, so and this method is good, but there are advantages and disadvantages because all activities have 2 sides. Remember, you have I you have disadvantage and advantage. Okay, so it's up to you how to decide and how to make it. But in this one, multitasking will be a hindrance in the completion. Okay, then it's student syndrome. Team members waiting to start work until there is schedule pressure. This will ultimately affect the critical path and the project completion date. Okay, student syndrome. Okay, so like usually this syndrome very popular because some students not example, if you will be given a project 1 month from now, you have a time, more time if you will do it now. But there are students who work for their project, let us say 1 day before the submission, 2 days before the submission, The implication for this one, the effect for this one is you will be the output is not that good, meaning the quality is not good because you have lesser time in doing that one. The meaning um, it's not checked properly. Okay. Next is policy. Company policy about merits, bonuses, performance reviews, or other rewards can drive people to do the wrong thing. Rewards or punishment given out for being early, on time, late, over budget, on budget, or under budget will drive people to protect themselves and do things not to generate towards but to avoid a punishment. Okay. Next is a level of effort. A work that is not related. Okay, this is the last slide that we have in list 4 or learning session 4. Work that is not related to activities but extends for the project durations will increase schedule extensions. Okay, so that's the things, reasons that some projects are over budget or are delayed. Okay, so I think that is all for this learning session about the correlation of your estimate and your project schedule. Okay, so I hope you learned something from what I discussed. Okay, so as you can observe, this is all theories because cost engineering needs to be learned by theory first. Then after that one, it will be the estimate procedures on how to solve. Okay, example, how many bars you need, how many seats you need. Okay, I think that is this is all. This is the end of LS4, and thank you for listening and watching. I hope you learned something from this one, and see you on the next learning session. Thank you.